Here, spawning in the top left-hand corner of Lightshade, as the blue Protoss player from Dragon Phoenix Gaming, it is ZEST.
And spawning here at the bottom right corner of the map, playing for the team of Kaizi Gaming. He's our red Terran player. It is Innovation. Alright, as I mentioned, both these players has been on the top of the Korean scene for their respective races for quite some time. ZEST, always considered one of the top 3 Protosses. Innovation for a number of years has been considered one of the top 3 or 4 Terran players throughout the scene. So these guys, a lot of game and experience under their belt.
Absolutely. There have been lots of times in which these two players have been probably the best players in the world for a little while. Especially ZEST, considered to be one of the best Protoss players of all times. And rightfully so, actually. This player is just a genius when it comes to builds. And he's just such a great player at executing everything. He really improved throughout the years. And I think he's very close to reaching its peak level. And the fact that players such as ZEST and Innovation, 25 and 26 years old I think, are still improving, it really means a lot. Like players like these at this skill level still improving, these two guys are insane.
Yeah, for sure. Back in the old days, I remember like maybe 5 or even 10 years ago, 25, the age of 25 would have been considered like you're old in StarCraft 2, but definitely these guys proving that prophecy wrong.
Absolutely. And we see already ZEST going for something a little bit cheeky here with his proxy gateway on the right.
So this is going to be like the parting 3-gate pressure build. So as you can see, one assimilator is forgone in kind of is a way to kind of gather up some minerals for those additional gateways, for those faster gateways. And then the part of this build is applying some heavy pressure. You're going to be behind in tech, so you're going to have to, or it's going to be up to ZEST to deal some nice, significant, decent damage with this pressure.
Yeah, it's also looking like Innovation doesn't really mean to scout too heavily inside of ZEST base. Has still no idea about the proxy. He has the bunker for safety. Not producing a cyclone though. That could be a little bit detrimental in the long run. Cyclone is just that great in these early stages of the game, and he's gonna need that more than this alien drop is preparing for. Oh, actually here comes the tech lab.
But is it going to be in time? I don't think the Cyclone is going to come out before this attack commences. The gateway has just finished those, or the warp gate research has just finished. The gateways are warping in. 3 adepts going to be warping in here at the front. And here we go. ZEST's going to go ahead and sheet in with those adepts, probably behind the mineral lines.
Here it comes in the mineral line, already taking a lot of SCVs and mules. The wall is not up, it will be in a short while, but ZEST doesn't look like it's wanting to go up there. He's trying to shade up the ramp right now, but of course there's not much to be taken. Innovation hugging his bunker as close as he can, but lots of mining time being taking off of this natural. Twilight Council is incoming and the Raven is on the way. It looks like ZEST wants to dive on top of this bunker. He's gonna do exactly that. Gonna take a lot of Marines for this and 8 SCVs and counting. The wall is up once again, getting vision on the high ground. Here comes the Raven to slow this down. But this actually was a kill on the refinery, not a cancel. And the bunker is in real danger right now. Not much he can do, of course, Innovation to keep this alive. The last few Marines inside of it will be taken as well. Finally, a tank on the high ground will stop the onslaught for ZEST, but you can see the supply already getting a little bit out of control, I'd say. ZEST 62 against the 45 of Innovation, 42 workers against 27, already on a third base is ZEST, while Innovation struggling to keep control on the low ground. Steam is on the way, a second tank as well, the Raven, keeping track of things, but still, Innovation cannot walk down the ramp.
Yeah, he doesn't quite have that optimal amount of tanks yet, and Marines as well, so he's gonna probably have to get up to maybe the third or so tank, and then start doing the slow, or I guess start stabilizing his natural there. But in the meantime, ZEST is gonna go ahead and kind of transition out of this. He has already gotten his dirt base up. It's about halfway done, and of course he is going into that blink tech.
Yeah, absolutely mandatory tech into this matchup with a Robo incoming, probably a Robo base soon to come. After that, Innovation will be slowed down by this by quite a fair bit. As you said before, the tech from ZEST is going to be slightly late, but I think this was well worth it.
Yeah, for sure. He is quite significantly ahead in the worker count, and also he knows that he's not going to get pressured. So all he needs to do is continue probing up, getting that tech up, researching charge now because his blink just finished, and just going for that kind of the swarm toss kind of army composition with mass gateways being plotted down, and he is just going to play the numbers game.
Yeah, most definitely. Lots and lots of gateways being dropped down, even charge being chrono boosted. Back home with a Warp Prism incoming, ZEST doesn't really look like he wants to stay put. He wants to get some damage, get some aggression. Shades will keep always track of the army of Innovation's movements. And now with combo shields on the way and +1 infantry weapons, Innovation wants to make something out of the units he was forced to produce.
Oh, I love how ZEST is really delaying this push here at this middle center rock area. He knows that if Innovation is going to commit in, he's going to force field and just kind of further delay them, further delay the push. And this is buying a lot of time, as there is a nice little Zealot counterattack here at the back door, getting 3 additional SCVs and also delaying some of these mining time.
And now he can use those Zealots to get a sandwich onto the army of Innovation. With charge just being finished, the Zealots are coming from behind. Of course, the tanks were sieged right in time. Raven is full of energy. He will get through with a nice anti-armor missile. It's very risky for him to do an aggressive play with these many Stalkers having blink.
Oh, I love this charge lot at the back door, catching all the reinforcement, and now getting this around all these tanks. And here we go. ZEST is going to clean this up rather easily.
Yeah, the Raven wasn't able to do much of anything, and ZEST will get a quick and clean victory. One thing, as you've been saying before, that I really expect from Innovation this time is to get a little bit more of a deep scout. ZEST is not one of those players you can leave unchecked. It's almost like playing against a zero player. You always need to keep track of what he's up to, because he can be up to so many different things that you cannot really leave it to chance.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, ZEST has so many builds under his sleeves that it's hard to kind of predict what build he is going to go for. So, yeah, Innovation definitely needs going to be on top of the scouting. Make sure he's know what's up, what build ZEST is going for, and what's coming his way.
As for now, both players looking to go for something pretty standard. A Marine expand on the side of Innovation and a Cyber expand on the side of ZEST instead.
Yeah, it's also interesting to note that he did, of course, skip the Reaper and went for straight into the Marine. So we're gonna have a little bit of a quicker factory this time around. It's gonna be up for something. Looks like reactor on the way, so might see a Hellion drop if he throws down the starport and start getting that medevac, or it could be maybe Widowmine, the 4 Widowmine drop. But I suspect it might be a Hellion drop, only because this map, the main base, is quite large, so there's a lot of hidden areas that you can kind of drop your Hellions and then just go on top of the mineral lines there.
Yeah, it also means much more to skip the Reaper and get that earlier factory if you want to go for a Hellion drop compared to a Widowmine drop. Because Widowmine drops don't really rely on your opponent's deck. Like, your opponent is gonna have an answer, regardless. Which is just moving his probes away. Against Aliens, you cannot just do that. You need to have something back home. And skipping the Reaper to get this faster, it's actually a great strategy. It goes a long way, especially on a map such as Oxide, which is fairly large, and it's fairly decent for hiding a starport, just like Innovation is doing right now on the left side of the map.
Yep, and ZEST has not quite scouted this yet, but he did scout the the reactor on the factory, so he should have an idea of the possibilities that are coming his way, and he should start kind of positioning his stalkers kind of into the main base, start getting that wall off at the front as well.
Yeah. He's been putting up a wall in his front door, as you've been saying. The 4 aliens are made, the Medivac is on the way. And it doesn't really look like ZEST has much as of now. Warp Gate just finished. Oh, is ZEST going for a full wall off? That will be a good choice as well, actually.
Yeah, I think he's just parking his probe there in case he sees it, and he has to get some really fast reaction time in order to wall that off. But it looks like he has nothing to worry about as the main attack is in the main instead. But oh no shield batteries quite yet there, so he will lose a couple of probes.
It's going actually slightly better than I was expecting for ZEST. He was able to catch one of the aliens pretty much immediately, meaning that only killing one would avoid probes getting one shot. It's going to be still a lot of dead probes, like 8 probes, still a significant number, but I don't think you are supposed to defend more than this. Like 8 probes, it's fine to lose him. You're gonna get an earlier third. He's dropping a Dark Shrine as well for some Arcane drop shenanigans. He has Blink made, so he can get something on the other side of the map. And Innovation will be slightly slowed down in his tech department.
Alright, looks like and ZEST is going to go ahead and try to harass here at the backside of the natural. Now, do note that there is a Dark Shrine in the production tab, so ZEST is going to follow up with a DT drop. But in the meantime, he is going to try to harass as much as possible, keep Innovation distracted, and make sure that he, work his way towards that DT tech.
Yeah, getting a couple workers, getting a refinery, all things considered. ZEST was able to get something aside from some fairly useful scouting information, checking the steam time and all these things, even an NG Bay being scouted by the Protoss player. And now with this Dark Shrine play, he can really try to deal some serious damage afterwards. Here comes the Warp Prism. Getting vision into the main, blinking forward into the mineral line. There's already a tank to defend the steam upgrade. But of course, with the Warp Prism, Innovation needs to be scared of much more than just Blink Stalkers.
Alright, those initial DTs are on the way, and do we have any detection here? Nope, no turrets on the way, no Ravens as the reactor is on the starport instead of a tech lab. And oh, he just used the meal there. Oh my goodness. This could get ugly.
Game ending. Oh my goodness. Yeah, get it. He cannot get Steam. Steam is too close to finish. He cannot get that. Here comes the scan, but it's gonna be a long time before he has some more energy. Let's see if ZEST is able to get even more damage than this.
Oh man, that DT and the natural is still hacking away. Now the turret is almost done there, but can Innovation decrease and minimize the amount of SCV losses?
He's definitely try, but he's losing add-on after add-on. Reactor into Tech Lab, and then another reactor. This is actually fairly significant damage. It's going to slow down Innovation's production by a fairly significant amount. Another add-on being killed. Here comes fine. Oh my goodness, the Warp Prism falls.
Oh man, that was a huge snipe there.
Yeah, what a mistake on the side of ZEST though. Going far too deep with his units. Not having those 2 Archons for defense is going to be much worse than not having those 4 add-ons. Then ZEST was able to snipe. And now this is a little bit of a desperate situation for ZEST. He's adding 4 more gateways, plus 1 ground weapons is on the way. He needs a lot of Archons to defend this. and he doesn't really have a shield battery in his third base. This is not a good position to be in.
Alright, here it is, the big push. Now there is only one tank, so actually it's not looking like the most scariest of army, and ZEST with the rest of the reinforcement and the rest of the warpins will actually hold this off, so nicely done there. And now he is sitting on 3 bases with a little bit of a behind on the +1 attack, but I mean, all in all, I would say ZEST has kind of pulled ahead here. A little bit at least. He is ahead on the workers. He is ahead on the army supply, and you know, his +1 is about to finish, and he's adding in those splash damage units. With the Archons. He's got another War Prism here for harassment. But got to be careful not to lose it again.
Yeah, it looks like I was overreacting with the first War Prism lost. Innovation didn't have a lot of army, and now ZEST is just absolutely smashing through the defenses of Innovation. Of course, he needs to keep defender's advantage on check. He needs to realize he cannot just straight up end the game, but even getting slight amounts of damage, chipping down Innovation's defenses while getting a 4th base, it goes a long way, especially with the Templar Archives being dropped by ZEST and Innovation being still a pretty long distance before having some ghosts out.
Yeah, there's actually no Ghost Academy on the way, so that Ghost Tech is going to be lagging quite behind here. And once ZEST got that Storm Tech, up and running, that's going to be significantly hard for Innovation to kind of face up with a head-to-head fight.
Army of ZEST is just not even microing right now. It's just that much stronger compared to the one of Innovation. Beautiful micro on the side of Innovation. There's one Immortal coming in right now. I don't know, I think the Widowmine killed the Observer, which was pretty decent, but there's not much splash damage on the side of Innovation. Just these 3 Widowmines. More are coming, getting some splash damage onto the Zealots, actually doing pretty fine in defending this base, but still lots and lots of mining time lost. 10 more SCVs down the sink. Storm is almost done.
Yeah, and another huge warp in here by ZEST. I'm wondering if he's going to go ahead for another big attack, but it looks like he's kind of circling around instead of attacking here at the 3rd base. Looks like he wants to just maneuver towards the natural.
Yeah, trying to get as many choke points as possible in which he can trap his opponent. Outmaneuvering here is absolutely mandatory. Oh, here comes. That's a lot of Zealots. The Widowmines are not in position right here. Beautiful Storm is gonna get much of the Bio army of Innovation, forcing it backwards. Meanwhile, the Archons still having a lot of bulk up for the rest of the army. 3 of them, and all of the Storms are actually hitting jackpot on the army of ZEST, of Innovation, sorry. ZEST moving forward. The Widowmines finally getting some damage, especially in the Archons, denying those shields. But Innovation is all out of bio, and now ZEST pushing forward into the 3rd. GG gets called, and it's a 2-0 score in favor of ZEST. Well, another game, another story. We're on Romantis side, and here in the bottom right-hand corner is where the Blue Protoss is currently spawning, leading the series 2-0. For Dragon Phoenix Gaming, it is ZEST.
And spawning here at the top left, hailing from Korea, he's the machine. He is from Kaizi Gaming, and give it up for Innovation. Alright, so interesting how we started this first 3 games with kind of the older school maps, right? Because Light Shade, Oxide, Romanticide, these are maps that has been in the season, the past season, or I guess the past 2 or 3 seasons for now. So very familiar with these maps. Both players are. Then later as the series progresses, we will get into the newer maps, of course.
Yeah, it's just a matter of comfort most of all. I'm sure most players like to play on Light Shade, Oxide, and Romanticide just because they're good and average maps. There's nothing really crazy about these maps, really. They're fairly standard. They're they were always fairly well received, even in the first days we played on those maps. And now players are just incredibly accustomed to them. Comparing those maps to the newer ones, like there's always a season in StarCraft 2, in a StarCraft 2 year, in which maps tend to get a little bit crazy. And Beckett Industries is one of those maps. So it can get very crazy on those new maps. And except for Submarine, which was absolutely nuts, we've had kind of average standard maps. And players just feel a little bit better playing on those.
Yeah, I have a feeling that we might see Beckett Industries maybe a little bit played a little bit earlier than usual, because ZEST has been winning these games, and of course Innovation wants to take advantage of Beckett Industries, as it is kind of a little bit favored towards Innovation, or Terran rather, and so we might see him, because he definitely does not want to drop down to 0-3 or 0-4, especially 0-4, because if that's the case, then his back is against the wall.
Getting use of that gold base early in the game, it's absolutely mandatory for success on that map. We'll talk about that when it comes, but right now ZEST deciding to go for a Twilight Council first, changing his mind, going for a Stargate, and that will not be scouted by Innovation.
Ah, a little bit of mind games here. Of course, the first two games, well, actually, the last game, rather, ZEST did go for the Twilight Council, so, you know, he's kind of tricking Innovation into thinking, is he going for the same build here? But, in fact, gonna be a Stargate opening.
Yeah, and it's the third different build in 3 different games. On 3 fairly different maps as well, yes. Oh, Twilight Council follow. Oh, yeah, it's Adept. Let's go. Back to basics, right?
I feel like that's an album title there.
That's these aliens actually didn't scout the Stargate, by the way.
Oh man.
He has seen the Twilight Council, he has seen the 3 gateways, but he has not seen the Stargate. So
Ooh.
An Oracle right now flying into the main might be pretty scary without a Cyclone to hold it up.
Oh boy, are we gonna have ourselves a quick 3-0? Okay, never mind. A little bit of a mismicro there by ZEST. I'm not sure why he went for the Marines. I think he should have gone for just the SCVs. But I feel like he was like a little bit hesitant, because he was kind of anticipating a Widow Mine being hidden in the mineral line. So maybe so, but unfortunately, a missed opportunity for a bunch of SCV kills.
Yeah, ZEST was probably a little bit undecisive between chipping down the army of Innovation for his follow-up, Templar Archive, whatever, or just getting SCVs. But now with the Templar Archives, I'm not sure about these anymore. It's not going to be Adepts. There's not a follow-up Adept. It's just Blink, and then straight up into Templar Archives. ZEST is just rushing tech right now.
Yeah, I have seen ZEST gone for this, and so the idea is that, you know, he did scout what Innovation has. He sees the tank, and when you see a Terran player with going for tank like that, you know, there is a good chance that there is going to be a timing push with maybe 2 or 3 tanks. And so the idea is that you rush into Templar Archive, get that storm, and then have enough storm before the attack hits. And that really helps, because, you know, you have the charge lot, and then you have the storm to kind of zone out the bow units while the charge lot get on top of the tank. So it's a really strong, good counter build against what Innovation is going for. However, it all comes down to execution, so let's see how that goes.
It's a 5/16 Psionic Storm start. I think it's one of the earliest I've ever seen, and nowadays Oracle will gain so much vision, so much map control, by just dropping down a Revelation and keeping track of what is up for Innovation. Blink just seconds from being finished, it just finished right now, as well for Psionic Storm, lots of gateways incoming, as well as a Forge. That's a lot of gateways. And now with a free base economy, ZEST, if he holds this without losing too much, it's going to be impossibly difficult for Innovation to come back into this game. And choosing to fight on a choke point is not gonna help him at all. Lots of storms available. Oh, here comes the first one, getting already a bit of marine damage. Two medivacs are full of units, trying to go into the main. That's what ZEST needs to be the most scared of. It doesn't have a lot of units charged lots. Actually, just zealots being warped into the main. They're gonna buy a lot of time, but not enough. A beautiful storm is gonna chip down some damage, while the stalkers need to walk the distance to get into the main. Lots of gateways unpowered. These marines are getting damaged right now. More stalkers being warped in, but these marines are staying in a mineral line, and it's taking a lot of time to clean this up. More stalkers being warped in. Gladly, it's for ZEST. He has a lot of gateways, but he's not gonna have a lot of probes after this.
Indeed. Now he does have 3, nexuses to chrono boost out those probes to try to make it up. But yeah, that's a significant amount of probe kills there by Innovation. Now I would say this attack did pretty well, actually.
More stones being used, but these down. Oh my goodness, that Riven just got one shot by a feedback. Alright. Beautiful save on the High Templars, morphing them into Archons. Finally charge is done, but these Stalkers are the real bulk of the army of ZEST right now. Archons, of course, are gonna help a lot. Another High Templar goes down just before getting a feedback, just after getting a feedback. Archons trying to tank as much damage as possible. Not a lot of medivacs to keep this army alive. Lots of gateways to warp in more and more units. ZEST is buying a lot of time, but is he buying enough? Did he keep enough probes alive after clearing these up? Actually, the tank stays alive, and both Archons just died. Reinforcements are making their way through the map for Innovation. He feels safe, he feels happy with the amount of damage he's dealt, and ZEST lagging a lot behind in both army and worker right now.
Yeah, that was such an efficient trade there by Innovation, and the major thing is that he has resetted the High Templar count. He has pretty much killed all of them, or at least forced them to turn into Archons. And now ZEST only has 2 High Templars out in the field.
Yeah, like all spellcasters in StarCraft, the more time they stay alive, the more value they tend to get over time. And High Templars just dying this early and this quickly into the game is not going to help you, especially without any amount of tankiness in the front of your army, and with the army of Innovation just being so mobile. And actually right now going for a Doom Drop into the main.
Oh wow, we're actually going to have ourselves a couple of chaotic moments, as there is a charge light run by into the third at the same time that this triple drop ship, or actually medevac drop, is commencing as well. And he is going to force a ZEST to recall into the main base. That should be enough, I think, to clean it out. But that charge light run by is doing actually not quite as much as I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of units to stop that, and now the economy of ZEST is just in shambles. Innovation will take its first game of the series. And Innovation just got such an important win in this series. Getting the third game off of ZEST is just so important for morale. Going 3-0 down against a player such as ZEST can just become so difficult to overcome. And now with just one map behind in the score, he can really put up a fight without being too scared of these crazy shenanigans that ZEST can pull out when he's ahead in a series.
Yeah, I feel like Innovation is one of those players that if he goes down like significantly or a decent amount in the series, like going down 0-3 or 0-4, his morale gets significantly down, and it gets much harder for him. There's some players that are more, strong-willed and will never give up
like
until.
ZEST.
Yeah. And then there are some that just, they usually have to either get a decent lead themselves or at least be around tied in order to keep their morale on float. So yeah, it's really important that Innovation did get that game and kind of stop the momentum of ZEST.
Innovation getting us Witch in his build, going for the Reaper expand. So getting a Reaper for scouting before the Marine. And of course on a map as big as Dragon Alpha, it works just better. Just straight up.
Yeah, of course, interestingly enough, the Reaper is staying at home and not going across the map. So a little bit of an interesting decision there. He didn't even go to like kind of scout the outskirts of his base. But I guess he needs the Reaper here to kind of help defend against his initial adept.
Yeah, most definitely. Keeping that home for this reason, the Marine will be saved. The bunker is up now. There's not much that Innovation needs to be scared of. So he will probably try to move out with the Reaper once these adepts stop making a ruckus in his natural. Twilight Council is the first stack choice of ZEST, probably for Blink. And it looks like we finally have a fairly standard opener on both sides.
Alright, these pesky adepts gonna go ahead and...
Oh my goodness, that is in main. Oh, he cancels the shade.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that adept cannot leave his brother behind, so... He had to cancel that, or else he just would have been a deserter.
Oh yes, he would. A third adept just came in the natural. And yeah, this is starting to get a little bit obnoxious, to be honest. Like, it's getting a lot of damage, a lot of mineral of mining time. And once again, these little victories tend to give a Protoss player such a strong economical lead in the early game, which is much, much needed. Especially with things such as Widowmine drop and Hellion drops being so consistent at taking damage. Or dealing damage, mostly.
Alright, a little bit of a peace of mind there as ZEST does clean up the first Hellion. And not only that, but it also prevents some scouting information. So right now, ZEST's base is pretty much in the dark, as Innovation has yet to really scout what ZEST has transitioned into. I mean, for ZEST, it could have been Blink Stalker, but it could have been DT. So you can see right now, Innovation getting that Raven just to be extra careful against those DTs. But in the meantime, this Widowmine drop here does get scouted.
Doesn't really look like it's going to get a lot of damage. Blink is still a little ways before it's going to be made. The Reaper... Oh, Widowmine's gonna burrow right here. One of them almost gets killed. It's gonna get just a couple probes before being sniped. And here comes the second Widowmine in the natural. Not gonna get much itself. Still 4 kills. Immediately unburrowed. Oh, the Mediac stays alive. 4 health. But it stays alive. Now that Blink is done, it's going to be very hard to stay alive though.
Oh my god, I really would like to see ZEST just park at least a Stalker to the left and to the right. Because you do not want to have a scenario where you're getting distracted and all of a sudden there are like 9 probes dead in your natural or something.
Well, you call for it, and here it comes. Templar Archives pretty on the early side once again. This time, yes, started charge before Stunning Storm at least. So it's going to be at least a little bit harder for Innovation to break the initial forces that ZEST will have in his army. But here comes Storm again on the early side with Innovation pushing out mostly just to get control of his third base, I feel. How many Medics does he have actually? Oh, none.
Yeah, none so far. He does have 2 on the way in the production tab. So maybe that could join up in the fight, but...
Yeah, and the Raven just got sniped. Yeah, that is terrible news.
Yeah,
you know, moving out without Raven right now.
Yeah, I mean, the Raven can actually throw down auto turrets and kind of attract the targeting of those charge lot. And so, you know, if the charge lot wastes all their charges on that one auto turret, then it can help the rest of the Marine kite. But without that, the charge lot should be able to get on top of these Marines. But as I say that, there's not a lot of charge lot on the field actually.
Yeah, not a lot of storms either. Of course, there's no Medivac to keep this army alive, but these... Well, there are 2 Medivacs now to keep this army alive. But to be honest, like, ZEST was pretty late with his warpines to keep this base alive. Losing a third base hurts quite a lot right now. And it doesn't really look like he has enough stuff to break this contain these early. I-Templars getting close, but the units are well spread from Innovation. This is not looking good for ZEST. Losing the whole of his army. This might be game right here, right now. Losing a third, losing all of his army. GG gets gold. Innovation. Quick and super clean victory. Here we are, top right-hand corner, here on Beckett Industries. Here's the blue Protoss player, playing for Dragon Phoenix Gaming. Will he get a hat right here? It is ZEST.
And here at the bottom left, he is the red Terran player playing for Kaizi Gaming. He is the machine. He is Innovation. So let's talk a little bit about Innovation, because I feel like, you know, there was a time period where he was so dominant. He was like considered, I think, easily the best player in the world. And you know, over the past couple of years or so, you know, he stayed at the top, but not quite reaching his peak area, his peak level. And he's always like coming in like maybe in the round of 8 or around of 4 and just getting eliminated. So he hasn't quite won a lot of major significant tournaments the past couple of years. I mean, the last Code S championship that Innovation did win was back in 2017 against SOS. And then you know, in terms of major tournaments, maybe not premier tournaments, but major tournaments, his last win was in Home Story Cup in 2018. So it's been a couple of years since Innovation has had any like really significant wins, tournament wins. He did recently won the Into the Alpha X Pro Circuit 6 tournament that we hosted. But you know, let's be real, that's not on the same level as a GSL Code S, right? Or maybe Absolutely. Even a super tournament, a GSL super tournament. So, you know, maybe, you know, this recent, you know, Pro Circuit win, you know, can revitalize Innovation. But I'm getting a little worried that if he keeps up on this pace, he's not going to win a lot of tournaments in the years to come, because he's kind of been decreasing in terms of skill levels. Because right now, like even right now, he, you know, Innovation always considered maybe the top 3 Terran players, but now he's maybe even only like 4th or 5th place, with Kier and Maru and TY and maybe even Beyond coming in and taking that 4th place.
Maybe
there.
even Dream, right?
Oh yeah,
Dream has been playing extremely consistently lately. I do feel exactly like you, and I do feel like it has something to do with the rise of so many Zerg players in the last few years. Like before, like in 2017, 2016, there weren't that many good Zerg players. Like, let's be honest, Su was a very strong player, but never the best. Rogue was still a very good player, but he never really shined as bright as he did in 2018. And all these things, like many players didn't have like their TVZ or PVZ or even ZVZ like planned out correctly. And that really hurts a lot in years like 2018 with Rogue and 2019 with Cyril being so incredibly dominant. And I guess it took a little while to get accustomed to these Zerg players, and that's the reason why players such as Cyril and Dark and Rogue, and to a certain extent even Raynor, are not as dominant as they've been in the last year. So I guess these players like Innovation, Stats, even ZEST, as we've seen recently, are starting to get the hang of it and are starting to be as strong as they were before. But it's been a little while, I agree with you.
Yeah. I would love it to see, you know, Innovation get back into form. Because I know there's a lot of Innovation fans out there, you know.
Absolutely. And with good reasons as well. Like, this player is the macro man. Like, his builds are always perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Not by chance he's called the machine, right?
Exactly.
Aside from his blatant lack of emotions.
Because of that lack of emotion, I actually like to refer to him as One Punch Man, because he kind of reminds me a lot of One Punch Man.
Yeah. That is true. It has that feeling, like the protagonist of a shonen, all of a sudden. He's Dark Templar play, already getting some damage. Once again, not a lot of scans available. One in the main will catch one of the Dark Templars, but in the natural, the bunker is going to go down alongside 5 SCVs. Innovation slowed down by these by quite a fair amount. And actually, this tank is in danger right now as well. Yeah, I don't see any... Yeah, scan is available right now. Just use it. Please. Alright, the tank is gone.
Oh, man. Yeah, this is getting worse and worse right now. I mean, I feel like this DT harass has just paid for itself already.
Even more probably, like just losing one Dark Templar, like the other actually stayed alive. And now he can morph 2 Archons and get even more damage done. There's not a lot of bio to work with, tanks don't really get that much damage so easily into Archons this low in numbers. And with a follow-up back home, with Immortals being on the way, 5 gateways and 3rd base, ZEST is in a fairly decent position. The missile turret is gonna keep this War Prism at bay, meaning that the Archons will actually take some significant damage. But once again, Innovation forced into a lot of units. And you know what? He doesn't have a starport yet.
Oh my god, that is horrible. I mean, at this stage of the game, you need a starport, right? Oh, actually, you know what? Yeah, he's going for three barracks. Yeah, you definitely should have a starport, but dealing with the harass, I could understand why his starport is a bit late, but he's going to have to be careful to not overstem his units right there, because by the time he goes across the map, he's not going to have a lot of repair or healing for those Marines, so he's got to be very, very careful not to overstem his units there.
Yeah, the army of ZEST is already getting all the pieces he needs. Still, that's a lot of units for Innovation. It's 4 tanks? Yeah, it's 4 tanks, even just losing 1. Like, this push was supposed to be with 5 tanks. Can you imagine that? 7 minutes, 5 tanks? It's absolutely crazy. Beautiful charge on top of all of those Marines. The tanks were sieged a little bit too late, and here comes the wraparound with the Archons. Innovation forced to top out. Alright, I do feel like I need to make some clarity about it. I am a Zerg player. Blackburn is a terrible map for Zerg players, unless you play Nidus Network all of your games.
Oh, man.
And that is what I do. So, yeah, I do love this map.
Well,
it reminds me of the good old days, Year Zero. Yeah, those maps.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the most horrible map for Zerg because of the go base. Like, you can get the hatchery earlier, but it's very...
so impossibly hard to defend.
Yeah,
trust me,
it is,
it's
yeah.
incredibly hard to defend this map.
That's true. That's true.
So many choke points. Like, you need to have your army so incredibly spread around, and defending your 3rd while you keep a good force here for the gold base is just absolutely impossible.
Alright, so far it doesn't
It's a
look...
great terror map. Mostly.
Yeah, especially also you can kind of float your command center to that middle base there. It's like protected by rocks, so not the worst map for a Terran player, definitely.
It's not even by itself a bad Zerg map. It just takes a lot of time before it becomes good. Like after 20 minutes mark, this is an incredible Zerg map because you have so much. So many different areas you can work around. You can cut off these rocks and just have a lot of different engagement positions. But before that comes online, it's just so difficult to stay alive.
Yeah, this is there's a lot of pathways and very a lot of wide open areas. So getting surrounds is actually pretty good on this map. So yeah, I can see how in the later stages of the game, Zerg can really utilize this map layout. But in the meantime, both these players not heading for the gold base or anything. Kind of pretty standard opening as it gets. And ZEST once again going for that Twilight tech there. And once again going for that Blink upgrade.
Yeah. Actually getting the Reaper Wolof as well, which on this specific map gets a lot of vision into your own main base. So it's so difficult to get in. And once again, we told this a little bit of time ago, I do feel like, but maps such as this, with these slowdown inhibitor zones for the air path, are actually just a trap into Starport and Stargate. Stargate and Starport are not that great on this map. Even if the distance is not that great, The inhibitor zones do actually matter a lot, and there's not a lot of dead air space. You can, once you're in the natural or in the main, you cannot hide, you can just run away. And to run away, you have to pass through the inhibitor zones. So, you can go Stargate, you can go Starport, you can go for drops, but it's a risky play. You have to acknowledge that it's risky.
Yeah, it's a little bit deceiving there, because on bird's eye view, it looks like it's a great, air tech map, but with those inhibitor zones, that kind of really changes everything.
Absolutely. And it looks like none of these players are relying too heavily into air. With just a Raven being out for innovation, not even getting a lot of medivacs to drop. Just keeping a fairly laid-back gameplay for now. Both players not really going on the aggression before the 5th minute mark. And Hallucinating Phoenix as well from ZEST to gain a little bit of vision in the main base of innovation. And both players going for the absolute most standard thing they can go for.
Yeah, nice little hallucinator scout here by ZEST. Does see what's up. And of course he is going to start making his way into the charge lot.
I mean, we might even see a Robo Bay for once from ZEST, which is the way every single Protoss player in the world play this matchup. He just doesn't want to.
Well, actually, you know what? I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't kind of favor ZEST going for Colossus tech on this map, only because it's a pretty easy to kind of split and get the concave on ZEST. So I don't feel like the Colossus is the best tech choice on this map specifically. There's not a lot of choke areas that can utilize a Colossus. Oh, let's hold that thought. There is a Raven here, sneakily trying to get to the main base, but
yeah,
ZEST does respond in time. Yeah.
are just absolutely massive in defending against those kind of things. Yeah, no Robo Bay incoming, no Templar Arcas as well. ZEST wants to have a little bit more bulk in this early game for his army, and you see Innovation pushing out finally, with ZEST having a couple Bleeding Stalkers to keep Innovation on check. With the third base incoming, it looks like ZEST is setting up a huge Xylem run by though.
Yeah, he has a lot of gateways, so you might as well utilize it and cut off the reinforcement, get some economic damage. And it's not like a whole slew of charge left, but he does need to start warping in here at the at home, or else it's going to get really difficult for him to hold off. Shield Battery Overcharge does activate, but that is going to get sniped down immediately by Innovation.
Beautiful interference matrix on top of the Immortal just absolutely broke the legs off of ZEST's army, and now Innovation safely steaming into the natural. Back home though, that's a lot of charge lots, still causing a ruckus, and now there's not much to defend, and SCV is put into the fight, while back home ZEST can just warp in more stuff. He has an Immortal in the main, he's getting the wraparound with the rest of his army, and Innovation's economy is absolutely devastating. More units actually getting warped in at the Warp Prism location, 43 workers died for Innovation. ZEST is now sacking his natural, keeping his army split in 2 different locations, and he's actually going for the full-on base trade.
Oh, I actually would have preferred him to just recall and get the surround and try to clean it up. But you know, he feels confident enough to rebuild and win this base trade, and I don't blame him. I mean, there's not a lot here on the other side. Only 2 tanks, Raven, and only a couple of Bio units.
I feel like this is a good call. I don't feel like he would have necessarily lost more by just recalling his army into his main base. But I do feel like this is probably the safest way to do it. Not that it's necessary, it's just a little bit more safe. That's what I feel like.
I mean, as long as ZEST has the army advantage, he should be fine. I mean, he is sitting at 52 army supply versus the 27. Now, granted, Innovation does have +1, but I mean, the army supply, I think, definitely overwhelms that. So, as long as he has enough minerals for... Oh, actually, now he does recall, so gonna go ahead and try to attempt to save this base here. And,
that's another great call, by the way.
Yeah. which means he doesn't really need to make another Nexus. He's good. He just needs to protect this base here.
Yeah, and Innovation is gonna try to gain control of the main base of the ZEST. But I do feel like it might be a little bit too late. I think we're going to get to match point for ZEST. Beautiful play from the Protoss, actually. Like, that was a very confident Zeta run by, like just keeping to warping more stuff at the location, knowing his opponent could not defend. And Innovation, I do feel like he needed to deal much more damage than he actually did.
Yeah. And now he is stuck with this because he has no command center to speak of. He has no SCVs to even remake a command center, even though he has enough minerals to make a CC. But he's going to use the rest of the resources to build a more army, as this is going to be his last remaining push. I mean, he needs to work some magic with this. If he breaks this, he wins. If he doesn't, ZEST wins.
Yeah, there's a shield battery as well. Shield battery overcharge is also usable with plenty of energy available. Two shield batteries actually being cancelled, the tanks getting shots at the probes, but now look at the amount of shield batteries that ZEST has over here. He's immortal, he's getting a lot of damage, but he's getting some damage on top of the tanks as well. And oh, the War Prism falls down! The immortal dies as well. That is kind of crazy for Innovation. Still getting damage on top of this. Shield battery overcharge gets used, but the one shield battery actually goes down. The tank was unsieged, and now it will siege back up, but not before beautiful force fields lock so much of the bio army of Innovation out of this fight. ZEST doesn't take a great trade, but gets one of the tanks, only one remaining. Blink is available, shield battery overcharged. Now the army is full. Beautiful force fields. The Raven goes down, the bio army goes down. It's just the tank, and ZEST is waiting just to blink on top of it. Game number 6 will go in favor of the Protoss, who's now on match point. Talking about the Devil, in the top right hand corner, here on 2000 Atmospheres, one game away from getting it 3 match points for these men. Can he do it right here, right now? Make some noise for ZEST.
And this man here at the bottom left, playing and representing the team of Kaizi Gaming, looking to start his comeback. Can he do it? Make some noise for Innovation. All right, so we have ourselves a very interesting map, just because I feel like this is a pretty wide open map, and there's also the watchtowers, so that's gonna be a factor during these as the game progresses, and we'll see if who will take control of those watchtowers. But yeah, what do you have any like predictions as to like what kind of strategy or build orders that these players are gonna go for here?
It's very difficult to go for something incredibly aggressive on 2000 Atmospheres for mostly one reason. Just look at the natural on 2000 Atmospheres. This is the smallest natural we've ever had on StarCraft 2. There is no way you can get unscouted stuff inside this natural. There is no way you can get past that choke point in this matchup. But there is one other thing to consider. Dead airspace. It's absolutely massive, and this map, if it weren't for this reason, wouldn't be a great air map. My prediction here is a Stargate play from ZEST into Twilight Council, and on the side of Innovation, I'm expecting possibly just a very standard Widowmine drop, but I'm expecting him to not play as aggressive as he did, especially in the beginning of the series. You can see Innovation actually scouting around for stuff, because actually hiding stuff on this map is incredibly easy, because the watchtower keeps track of where your opponent is scouting, and it's also incredibly strong because of the reason I've just talked about. Like getting a Stargate in the top left, for example, it just gets so much damage done before you can even react. It's a Twilight Council from ZEST, not a Stargate, but it's still going to be something like a depth. You cannot just, or maybe even just blink and just keep it laid back. You cannot just go for something like the Templar Archives Rush, like I've done before. That's my 2 cents on this.
Yeah, I fully expect this is going to be a Blink Stalker opening. This map is huge, so you want mobility with your army. And Blink does provide some extra mobility for those stalkers. And so I kind of... Or you know what? Maybe he might go for DT. I mean, those DTs has been doing some nice damage in the previous games, right? So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we might see some DTs, but yeah, it looks like it's going to be Blink as I expected earlier on there. But in the meantime, some SCV kills by these two adepts. Let's see how much kills were there. Okay, 3 adepts for 1 Hellion, 1 Marine, and 1 SCV. I would say Innovation probably got the better end of that trade there.
Yeah, probably. I do have to disagree with one thing with you about the Dark Templars, as I feel they were just great choices throughout this series, and they could work here as well. I don't feel like this is necessarily a good map to play Dark Templars. Once again, main and natural just so little. Oh my goodness, a Widow Mine in natural.
Oh, that was so close there.
That was so close. That was unbelievably close. It's just going to get one single probe before going down. It got a little bit of mining time, and that's pretty much free damage. Here comes a Medivac into the main. Blink is not done yet. Widowmine goes down but gets killed before you can get any significant damage. Now the Marines are trying to do their best, but the Medivac will go down. One of the Stalkers will fall as well. Some probes pulled into the fight as well. The Sentry will be saved. That is absolutely massive, beautiful defense from ZEST.
Yeah, and a little bit of a kind of a weird decision there by Innovation. I mean, I feel like he could have just target fire on those probes instead of trying to get that Stalker and that Sentry there. I think he would have gotten much more damage instead of like 2 probes. He could have gotten like 7 probes instead or something like that.
You see, finally, ZEST, now that he has Blink, he's going for a move out. He's keeping the Sentry with him as well, which is weird, but he's adding more gateways to this to have something to defend back home in case a Medivac goes on unscouted. And once again, there's not a lot of ways to walk out of this natural without passing through that choke point, so these Blink Stalkers are going to contain for quite a while.
Yeah, ZEST is going to have the map control for the next couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Because right now, Innovation, his stim is halfway done, so he might be able to move out once that is finished. But with these Blink Stalkers, he is going to have the map vision and the map control for the time being.
And look on the right side of the map. This is one of the reasons I love this map so absurdly much. Look at this, gaining control of the watchtower, placing down a proxy, which is deceptively close to the natural, and getting a lot of gateways, very early +1 ground weapons, and he's setting up for something huge here. With the Robo incoming as well, he's now keeping the contain up. But what about a Zealot run by once charge is done, starting from this proxy location? Does he have enough back home to defend? I do feel like he has. There's a lot of choke points, lots of ways that these tanks can deal significant damage. But Blink is done, and Blink Stalkers in the hands of ZEST are a force to be reckoned.
Alright, this is a nice timing. The +1 just finished there. He might want to wait for the concussive shells, but I think at this point when he's knocking at the door, he doesn't really need it. He does have the stem, so he can go ahead and push forward. But like you said, there is that chargelet run by here at the right side. That might actually get the cancel on the third base. Actually, we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that. But in the meantime, the attack here is still commencing.
Innovation cutting down the rocks, of course, to make these force fields look a lot weaker, and 2 more sentries warped in response from ZEST. Both of the players biting each other's tail right now with a big push coming, and Shield Body Overcharge gets used by ZEST. The Blink Stalker Micro is insane, but so many Marauders are keeping this alive. Shield Battery gets killed before he can get anything significant. More Zealots being warped in. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Zealot run by, getting some serious damage. The Widow Mines get killed. Beautiful, beautiful defense by ZEST. And now, the Zealots are looking to find the reinforcements of Innovation, looking to cut off these Medivacs, and ZEST is walking through the map. He has the proxy, he's making units there, and he wants to get this third base out of Innovation.
Ooh, this third base is like absolutely undefended. There is nothing to hold on and to defend this base here. So ZEST might actually get the snipe on here if he decides to focus fire, but decides, nope, I'm just gonna back out just in case he doesn't want to lose his or throw his entire army here just for a CC.
It's a lot of charge lots with this army. Lots of Widow Mines to counter those. Oh, beautiful blink backwards. Getting one of the medivacs before he can do anything. And now Innovation has to micro this perfectly. There's so many gateways units out there through ZEST.
Yeah, he is hung-ho on just gateway news for the time being. There is not a lot of tech. There is no storm on the way. There's no Colossus Thermal Lancer on the way. This is just pure gateway force, and he is going to try to overwhelm Innovation by numbers. The question is, can he do so?
Oh, the Zealots are going straight into the natural. He's trying to pull Innovation apart in two different locations. The Stalkers, of course, can micro backwards from the army. Meanwhile, beautiful Widowmine shots left and right for Innovation, getting a lot of damage onto those Zealots. They're not very healthy right now. All of them are falling one after the other, but so is the army of Innovation. More Widowmines over here that can be microed with the Stalkers out of those shots, and now they're even outranged. The army of Innovation sent to scatter, sent to pieces, and now finally the last Zealot is cleared in the natural, but the price that he paid was very high. This command center is going down.
Yeah, but it does not look great for our red Terran player here. And you know what? I wouldn't even be surprised if ZEST just fall back here and go build up for another big push. I mean, to be honest, I think he could just push through here and win outright.
Yeah, plus 2 ground weapons.
Yeah,
that's a good upgrade.
Good upgrade indeed.
With the Warp Prism going straight into the main once again, cutting off the defender's advantage of Innovation. ZEST with another Zealot run by. Warp Prism getting even more Warp Pins into the main. There's 10 Zealots warping into the main of Innovation, and meanwhile the rest of the Stalkers are not really losing this battle. The sentry goes down. This will mean a lot in favor of Innovation, but these Stalkers trying to micro their best, trying to keep this Proxy alive. Will they do that? Probably not, but in the meanwhile, the Zealot run by, it's absolutely destroying Innovation. 9 Stalkers warped in inside the main base of Innovation. Innovation going for the full-on base trade once again, but he knows this is nowhere to go for him. ZEST will get the series here on 2000 Atmospheres.